Welcome to On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker here today with Amy Emmerich, class of 1997, and the former CEO of the Miss Universe organization. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I like being on campus and seeing all the kids with their coffees and sweatshirts.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice memories.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day as well. So Amy, you were a broadcasting and communication major here at Iona. Mm-hmm. Similar path to me. I did broadcast media when I was here. So I want to just dive in a little bit about your education. So tell us about your education here. How would you categorize it? And what was your experience and where did it lead you?
I loved my time at Iona. I was always working and hustling, and I think that was my biggest takeaway, is that I can still hustle and yet still have a good time, working all the time. I took the train in to New York, the 5 a.m. train every day, and that's when everybody else was rolling off of North Avenue and getting home. So the dichotomy of that was really interesting, but I do think that I got the tools to practice the trade here, but it gave me the proximity to the city where like the door was always open and I could use those tools in real life circumstances in real time while everyone else was still in class in other places, you know. Iona gave me that.
Yeah, I mean, that's when we have prospective students and accepted students here, that is a major selling point. Proximity to New York City, you can hop on the train and be there within, a half hour, if less.
Yep.
It's just a great thing that not every school, has advantage to such a large city nearby.
It is the reason why I came here. I looked at a couple of other colleges, but 2 hours, 3 hours away, and I knew I would want to intern and work in the city. So I had to be at the Rosie O'Donnell show at 7 in the morning. So I'm pretty sure I left at like 5 something train.
Wow, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your career journey. How did you decide upon that career path and where did it take you?
Sure. I did not have a grand plan. Everyone always thinks you have this strategy when you start and you don't. I did know I wanted to work in TV. I grew up on television. That was The Babysitter. And I knew I wanted to be a camera woman, believe it or not. I just felt that. So I thought I would start in film, but the film program was shrinking here at Iona, but the broadcasting and communications was kind of growing. So that was great. And I really think that kind of gave me, again, that step into production. I worked my way through MTV. The mothership was in Times Square. Watching how much change is going on in that industry is wild, but I went through MTV, Vice. I built Refinery 29's entire video production. And then I think jumping into Miss Universe, which was more of a franchise business wrapped around media, right? So it was a lot of crazy steps, but I think I never was scared to jump. That's the big thing. I was able to be a documentarian once upon a time and travel the country and really kind of build my muscle on quick decision making out in the fields, dangerous situations, and be risky. And I think that's really served me in my career.
And that's what we try to, tell students when they're here, regardless of, what their major is, like the importance of internships. Because, you take an internship, you may love it, but you may not love it so much. And hey, at the end of the day, at least you tried. So, that's what I tell my students all the time. If you're applying for a job or an internship and you're not satisfied with all of the qualifications or all of the responsibilities, just apply. You never know what you may end up loving it and end up working for that company, and if not, at least you tried. You got
to start on the ground floor, right? And if you're not scared, you're not learning. I mean, I think that's it. You can't be comfortable. You're practically dying when that happens. But and back then, it's harder to get internships now, right? But you get paid now, which is unbelievable. I got paid $4 a day for food. That was it. No one got paid. So it was even a larger pool of people that you were fighting to some degree, because the world, everybody ran off internships because they could hire more of us too, though. That was the other kicker. So I think if you want that internship, you've really got to target and be selective, but you're getting paid. So guess what? Jobs are JOBs. You don't always love everything you're doing.
Exactly.
Good gift to learn early.
All right, so let's talk about career advancement. In your experience, what are some common misconceptions people have about career advancement, and how can they overcome these misconceptions?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's a straight ladder up. I definitely learned that life is a lattice, not a ladder. You never stop, by the way, either. There's always another person at the top. When you think you've gotten to the top of that ladder, it keeps going. So it's really, I'm not saying you don't want to have a vision of where you want to be and how you want to succeed, but don't think it's a straight line to get there.
Right.
I think there's many reasons to take jobs or take risks. It isn't always just because of the salary. It might be because of the opportunity, the connections, the relevance, the curiosity you have. You might be learning something new. But no, I think it's never about that straight line up.
Yeah.
And the other one I'd say is advocating for yourself. Everyone says, like, there's no one better than you to advocate for yourself. That is true.
Yeah.
But there's a woman I've got to call out, Carla Harris. She's unbelievable. Look her up. She does this Pearls of Wisdom. And her entire thing is like your career will be dictated by the people who make the decisions when you're not in the room. So you really have to find the people that will use their capital on you when you're not in the room. So connections and networking is everything.
Right.
But I really felt like I had to learn that one. You know, I thought if I just worked hard and was kind, everything would happen. But you really have got to be strategic and understand who those people are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about the it factor. You've served in many leadership roles throughout your career with plenty of opportunities to lead teams of people in several different capacities. Have you noticed over time a particular it factor that you think helps people stand out in the workplace or get ahead in their careers?
I think confidence is a big one. Not ego, but true confidence in who you are unapologetically is really big. And I think no matter where you might sit in a hierarchy, the best leaders know when to follow. So you might have great ideas, but you understand that there's collaboration, that there might be someone else smarter in the room, and you're not afraid to give up your power to listen to them and allow them to lead for a certain circumstance.
Right.
I think that tells the most about a character is if you're giving more accolades to others than even taking it for yourself. So that probably is the thing I always look for.
That's great. All right, so let's talk about your time at Iona. What was your most favorite memory here? And if you could do it all over again, would there be anything that you'd like to change?
If I could do it all over again and know what I know now, great. Let's go. But I don't know if I would survive right now. No, I pledged Psi Kappa Theta, which was amazing.
Oh, okay.
Unlike the TikTok sorority reels that you see today, it was not pretty back then. It was 4 weeks of grueling total, but it was the most fun I probably ever had. Greek weekend, I'll never forget them. Going to Glen Island. Sometimes we were at the pool in campus, but to see the sororities and fraternities come together and make this feel like home and just the amount of fun. Playing games. Like, you don't play enough to some degree.
Right.
So I think that's probably one of my favorite memories. And I think that, college, it isn't a specific class, I think, that like made me who I was. It's what was happening outside of class and on campus and interaction with these people that really helped me form as a human. So there's not really like one I can think of, and the only other thing I'd say is North Avenue back then was part of campus. We had, it looked very different. But for those of us that lived here, even the daily interactions are things that I miss, like pizza at Canoni's.
Well, Canoni's is now the mail center.
See, exactly. R.I.P. Mr. Canoni.
All right. So, was there a favorite course that you had in college?
I took a Hitchcock and Spielberg film class that was amazing. Yes, we watched films, sometimes full films, sometimes clips, but we got to really dive into the art of film and the directors and how they saw their visions and how they executed them. I don't think I realized how much that was impacting me at the time of you can Babe Ruth it, point to the bleachers, and just know that you're going to get there and have that confidence, but it's the execution that matters. I would say that class. And speech. I just remember being late for a speech class and running across campus because I had to stand in front of a classroom of people and present, and how terrifying that was at the time. But that skill set, I probably had to pull on that more in the last 10 years of my career than any other. How you project and the confidence in which you speak and how you communicate, that's everything. In order to bring people together and to work together well, you've got to be really good at that skill. So I'd say, I don't even know, again, if those classes exist or what they look like today, but those came in very handy.
That's great. So what was your most rewarding experience of your career? and this can be past, present,
It's so tough. I think each position has a rewarding moment. Honestly, winning an Emmy, of course, is amazing. But I think
amazing.
Winning the Emmy for purpose really will always stand out. It wasn't for profit. We were really, yes, it was a career-defining moment, but it was for something that actually mattered. And when I was at MTVU at the time, giving credit to Stephen Friedman, Ross Martin, who had this idea we were going to send college kids to Darfur, and working with the students taking action now Darfur, college, this is where advocacy starts and never ends, college campuses, right?
Right.
And the fact that we got to work with them, and then that campaign, which was a show, it was a social campaign, nonprofit work, that could win an Emmy is like, how can I not ever put that on top? And then I would say, look, Refinery 29 is hard to beat. We were a bunch of young, amazing, talented, brilliant, creative kids with an investment, great founders who had already built, the foundation, and we had 3 years of just building some of the most culture-defining content. But watching all those people become so successful today, I think, is really where you even take pride. Like, wow, we had an environment where people really were being their own boss and finding their own voice.
Right.
And seeing others succeed it feels pretty good.
So what role does networking play in career advancement, and do you have any tips for effective networking?
Some would say I'm extremely good at networking, and then I would say I'm really bad at it. I do think that really good networking is when you show up when people lose, not just when they're winning. I find that nowadays we can watch every step every executive makes across the board, and you're never on the top of the mountain for long. But the people you remember are when they reach out and say, hey, I saw this tough things going on in your life, but you got this, and you're there. Those are the people you are loyal to forever. When they ask you to do something, you're there for them. And I think the authenticity in that, people feel it. You're going to meet so many people you wish you could have a drink with every day. You're not going to see them for 15 years, but let me tell you, it comes back around, always. You will see people again and again. So, and I think when you reach people, it's also about service, not selling yourself. It's about, who are you? How can I actually support you? What do you need?
Right.
It will come around in time, but I think that there's something about knowing that your energy level is great when you meet and see people, and you're genuinely happy to see them, not because it's going to commercially or profitably help you, or career-wise, just in general, being a human and being inspired by one another. But I do think there's a strategic way, many agents have CMSs. Build out your own version of a CMS, because you want to also track. You might think you're going to remember everything about Matt, and in 2 years, Matt, I'm not going to remember. So, tracking who you meet and why you meet them and what you remember about them, so that you can reference it, I think is a really important tool to successfully network. That I wish I would have started when I was 18. Because again, someone you meet back then can show up in your life in 25 years. Even
the Iona connection during networking, like I'm not talking about like alumni events here on campus. Even I'm just talking about like if you're at a general networking event, like with a company, or there's like, let's say you go to a networking event in New York City, and you're exchanging information, like, oh, where did you go to school? I went to Iona. Oh, I know someone from Iona, or I have a family member that went to Iona, and it's like, truly such a special place, and I think everyone knows it at this point, and we're celebrating our 85th birthday soon, so that's something major for us too.
The connections outside of your field are really important.
Yes.
It's rare to live and work in New York and be from Queens, New York. So many people within Manhattan are from everywhere else in the world. And guess what? They're not asking me about how to tell a story. They're saying, hey, do you know a plumber? Do you know a cop? I got this ticket. I got a kid who's in trouble. And let me tell you, I know everyone because of Iona. I know bar owners and restaurant owners. I know guys that run VCs and funds, and I know people inside my own career. But you really are probably one step away, one connection away from someone within Iona that probably does something in a field you need a favor for. And I think that is where Iona comes in really handy, especially inside the alumni network, right? You're trying to get reconnected depending on the phase of life that you're in. Kids keep you extremely busy, and as you start to come out of that and decide what you're going to do, your next chapter, connecting back with Ionians in different fields to see what they're doing and how they can help. People genuinely want to support and help you. I think it's just about finding your way to them, but definitely being a local, to that proximity to the city. There's more jokes than I can tell you that everyone knows. If you just call Amy, there's probably someone she knows that can do that, no matter what it is. Iona is a big piece of that, definitely.
So, speaking of alumni, you serve on the alumni board. So what's that experience been like? I'm
brand new, and so far I already love it. One, it's been so great to come back to campus and see the changes and the energy and walking through campus and just being flooded with memories, things that might have drifted away. I think it's exciting what's going on with the college right now, with the university right now, it was college back then, I'm getting used to it, to see the new campuses and go to Bronxville and just how gorgeous that place is, and to really lean into nursing in that way, which is such a field where we need more people to lean into. I work in a very sexy field, but I think the teachers and the nurses are really the avenue that we need, people with more inspiration and passion to leaning into. So to see the college do that, and to be reconnected with people. I have my core crew from Iona that I would live and die for. A group of us are going to Jamaica in December, a bunch of us girls. But to be reconnected with Bobby, who I haven't seen since college, right? Everyone moves further away and you stay further apart, but to come back to campus and be reconnected really matters. I think homecoming is going to be awesome. And I'm excited to see everyone getting pulled back in. So, and to just live in the values of Iona and help it grow.
That's great. And we thank you for your service on the alumni board.
It's fun. Service, see? Service don't sell.
That's
the trick.
So let's talk about mentorship. What role has mentorship played in your career development, and how have you sought out mentors throughout your career journey?
I have a love-hate relationship with mentors, not the actual people, but the word, because I think so many people have supported and believed in me way more than I ever did in myself, that they saw opportunities and pushed me towards them than I ever did. And I think certain people have a certain place and time in your life that they serve. And I also think mentoring, supporting is amazing. It's not always old to young. I think it's intergenerational. I sometimes have the best mentors that think they're mentees, but I'm learning so much more from a 20-year-old right now, and how do we exchange information? And I think that's really what it is the exchange as a mentor and mentee, if that's the language you use. But, I find the best advice is when someone's listening to you, but not just what you're saying. They're seeing all of you and the dynamics and the situation. You'll have some people that stay with you your entire career, and some that drift in and out. So again, I think some people put pressure on themselves. Like, I have to get that one mentor that stays with me. And some people will talk about a board, build a board around you of people that you can go to help you through your decision-making process as you go through your career. I think those are all important. I do think Gail's going further, and the mentor program here has been really awesome. And just to get to know it and to lean into that, I wish I had that. I might have interned and have done very, very well, but I really was hustling out there alone, trying to figure it out. Now, with all these tools and the way Jim's bringing us all back, I think is pretty great. It's important to have people in your corner.
Yeah, absolutely. So in retrospect, looking back, is there any career advice you wish you had received earlier in your career that you would like to pass on to others aspiring for career success?
One is definitely that your job is not your identity. I think we are told to be so passionate and go for what you know, but I had to learn that lesson the hard way. Is like, you think you are your title or where you are, and that's really not what it is. That's not where the story ends. So make sure that you don't do that. And then progress, not perfection. People are not perfect. I don't know why we expect that from ourselves. And no matter what I do, it's like I just keep moving forward. Consistent change, progress. It's okay if we're a little messy, and giving yourself the grace and perseverance to do that. It took me a long time to learn those lessons.
Yeah, great advice. So let's end with some content recommendations. Have there been any particular books, podcasts, or other content that you've found helpful throughout your career that you'd recommend to our listeners?
I have 2 books that I still tell people about depending on the challenge that they're facing. But Change Your Questions from Why Me to What Can I Learn literally changed everything that I do. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's really about recognizing that we can sabotage our own success. He talks about this upper limit problem and how if you don't recognize your own upper limit problem, you will basically sabotage yourself when you actually hit success because you don't believe you might deserve it. So it's a really fascinating book, easy read. And then the other one is Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. That's Marley Adams. And again, that's back to why me? Why am I getting an argument with this person? Why can't we get along? Versus, what can I do here? What am I learning here? It's literally the smallest switch has changed how I approach all situations, especially in management. When you're managing people and you might have 2 styles that don't connect, but you've got to find a way to work through it. Those 2 books have really helped me become a better leader.
Yeah. That's great. Well, Amy Emmerich, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you coming on this podcast and to your service to the Alumni Board and for all that you do for Iona. We thank you.
Just getting started. Thank you for having me and for keeping it alive.
I look forward to seeing you on campus again soon.
I'll be back.
All right.
Homecoming.
Yeah.
See you then.
Sounds good. And with that is On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker. We'll see you next time. Thank you and take care.